Good afternoon and welcome to the second day of the American Gem Trade Association's Dynamic Seminar Series, sponsored by the American Gem Society. Sindi Schloss is a graduate gemologist, owner, and president of her own firm, International Gemological Services, in Scottsdale, Arizona. For over 40 years, Sindi has provided jewelry appraisals, operated a gemstone testing laboratory, as well as a school of gemology. For more than half of those years, Sindi has been president of GIA's Metro Phoenix alumni chapter. As a professional appraiser, educator, and jewelry historian, she blends and embodies a broad and unique knowledge of the spectrum of global human adornment. Author of two invaluable reference books, Beads, a reference and price guide, and Symbolism in Global Jewelry, Sindi has provided assistance for appraisers, antique and estate dealers, and the jewelry industry at large. Please give a nice warm welcome to Sindi Schloss.
Thank you, guys. Oh, stop. You. So hi. It is so funny to stand there and listen to that, as you guys know, but I feel like most of you kind of know me anyway. I've been around for so darn long. So my mission here today is not only to just educate, but I'm going to rip open a doorway to symbolism and only dabble in it because we don't have as much time. But this is so fascinating and so deep that I'm so excited about it. And welcome all you AGTA-ites, and thank you, AGTA, for inviting me to speak this year. But first, before we get too far, we have to define what a symbol is anyway. So I have a huge bookcase of all these symbolism books. I've looked through all of them, and by far, these are the coolest definitions of all. This first one, that something through its appearance or nature, it represents something so much more profound than itself. That is such a great definition. I mean, that really says it all. It is also the most ancient of all of our communication abilities. We will talk about how ancient that is. The snafu is that, unfortunately, it is very culturally defined. So many different places, even different people, will hear or see a symbol, and it means something different to them. So that's where it gets snarly, very snarly. So much so, there is a dedicated science to meaning making, sign making, and it's called semiotics or semiotic studies. So all the people, who make the signs for, metro down here, stop sign over here, bump over there, all those signs are people who have undergone semiotic studies. Did you even know that existed? I didn't. I never knew. So at any rate, now, how long was it? So this is 2006 Scientific American chart, the year I was born, right? Don't we wish? At any rate, this is so interesting because it's done so simply, and I love this chart. Where it is underlined, beads, was about 77,000 years ago. That's where it was then. The star is where it's at now. I can use the term interchangeably, beads for jewelry. Beads were the first jewelry, hence my first book, which is The History of Human Adornment, since caveman, through the bead, and has other stuff in there too, but that's what caught me. You'll also notice that above the beads, it says rock art, it says images. That is the earliest rock art. Jewelry was the first material object that archaeologists found that had nothing to do with survival. Everything else on this list is survival things. So that's pretty profound in itself. It really is. Now they're being dated to about 142 to 150,000 years ago. And they keep coming up with better and better technological advances for testing these things. And, you know, they're getting older and older, and it's always exciting, and I have to move my star over. So, you know, I can keep this going for a long time. Uh-oh, there it goes. So just to look at our fellow hominids. So this guy, Homo erectus, was the guy who tamed fire and also the one who left Africa. But it is really our Neanderthal buddies who were the heavies. They are so cool. They were the first burials. They did musical instruments. They were the first to start doing jewelry. They did all this sort of stuff, and eventually cave art, which is 90,000 years later than jewelry. Jewelry was the first expression of early hominids, and they considered that to be an indicator of when we had complex thinking or symbolic thought, and when that happened, they called us modern man. So jewelry has been with us ever since we have been called modern man. Isn't that heavy? It's cool, isn't it? By the way, I love the Neanderthals so much, I had to get my, 21 and me, I had to get my DNA done just to see how much I had, because I really wanted to have more than most people, but I didn't. I think we all have about 4% or so that was me too. But I thought you'd be interested just to see the earliest jewelry. Sadly, the shell has come back as the earliest jewelry, because wait till you see the next image. But these are the things that were 142 to 150,000 years old. They are purposely drilled. They are the size of your pinky fingernail. Can you imagine how labor-intensive this is? It's incredible. That's how they know that it was intended for something. And they found them in situ, on a skeletal remains with stuff in. This was, where was this? It says, this was in Morocco. This was the oldest jewelry before shells just surpassed it again. This is much more grooven. I mean, these are eagle talons. They were laying on the skeletal remains, just like that. These little things here, let's go back and hit that one. These are notches in the eagle talons. So they were held together with either animal sinew or plant fiber. That's a cool, we still see people sporting this necklace. Look how cool that is, Mr. Neanderthal. And you see also that he also adorned himself with dark feathers, and they have found dark feathers, and they think that has symbolic value as well. But this used to be the oldest jewelry. Once again, it is shell. Most of the charts you're going to see in this are in the book, so I'm not going to dwell on them a whole lot, but they're all in there, the first ofs and the dates of when they came to be. So being a historian, I love this, first ofs. I like caveman days an awful lot. You can use beads and jewelry, like I said, synonymous. Pendants, interestingly, are considered to be a subcategory of the bead. If you defined a bead as something that was suspended and hanging, from something, they think, why? Why was it done? And that is going to be something we're going to get to as purpose-driven symbols. So at any rate, beads, pendants, necklaces, all about the same age. They're all basically the same thing, right? Other things later, I just thought you'd find it interesting. The oldest minerals, obviously, are organics that were soft and easy to carve and easy to fashion, would have been, the first things. But the cool thing is turquoise was next. That's a little surprising. Again, these are all in the book. And I did this because I think you need to know who you are. I am here to enlighten you as to who you are. We are, kinda, I'm not, I'm an educator, but jeweler lapidaris. They're an artist or artisan who forms stones, minerals, gemstones, and beads into decorative objects. But now, how heavy this is. This process symbolizes transformation, often life into death, And that's why very often things are buried with individuals. The energy of that individual keeps going, and it also goes back through, and it is continuous. So it's very interesting. And the very first industry of jewelry making was considered to be the Indus Valley. There are three first civilizations. Indus Valley, which was all of a big swath of Pakistan and most of India. So it encompassed that. They were the stone fashioners. They traded actually with Mesopotamia and Egypt. So there's our three. They already had trade. They are finding this, more and more and more. They're fantastic, but they're all at that same time, Bronze Age, which is the same time we started to write. So we had been wearing jewelry as an expression of who we are so long before that. And that's, one of the heavies that I really want to impart. So, purpose-driven, I brought it up. Not only does jewelry, have transformation, symbolism, but we assigned all these different purposes, and you're very familiar with them. This first one is what they really think the very first jewelry probably did. They assume, we weren't there, we don't know, but probably some hunter person, tracked an animal who was either fierce or cunning and finally bagged the beast and took a claw or a tooth or whatever he took and, strung it up and wore it, because thinking possibly he would get that cunning or that fierceness or that strength or whatever it was, that it would be imparted into him. This is considered to be sort of a spiritual aspect. And in fact, this takes us to one of the very most important aspects of jewelry altogether, and most things that we wear, is the fact that humans like to attribute to something or have the belief that we can influence nature one way or another. And we will wear something to make that happen. That is called a charm. And now we get really heavy. I'm going to put this down because, no, I'm not. Okay, so there's two subcategories. And if it is an A, so charm's the big thing, amulets keep things away, talisman to you. That's how I remember. A away, T towards you. So there's a distinction between them, and it's really fun to catch that and know that and put that in expressing your jewelry designs. It's a very cool thing. Obviously, the idea is to start to create balance and harmony and no chaos. We need more talisman and amulets in our life. You'll see that, and we'll use them. All the other things are things that you constantly hear about, social markers, currency, obviously, decoration, not just of us, but of our animals that serve us, of our pottery, of things that we use functionally. And also, utilitarian is like a Swiss Army knife. People use jewelry all over the world. This one that is in the picture, I think it has an awl to, punch leather so they can sew it. It's got a spoon for we don't know what, but I'll say, I think it's for cleaning your ears. Who knows? Maybe it's for cleaning out your nose or picking your nose. You can do that too. Whatever, you need to do with these tools, they're on your body and they're being worn as a jewelry piece. So the symbolism attached to jewelry has this very universal symbolism as well as purpose-driven symbolism. So there's combinations of heaviness of what this is. But with jewelry, it gets even more complex because we're talking about what shape is it. That's huge in symbolism. What materials did you use, both in stone and in metals? And all of this goes into interpreting a piece of jewelry, which is so cool. And this is what's really cool, is that minerals are attached to humans, whereas the act of transformation, turning these things into a jewelry piece, makes you channeling the divine. Did you realize this? Well, you need to. In fact, I will go ahead and do that to all you jewelers and designers because you're doing that. You're channeling the divine in symbolic belief. Again, I'm not going to go into this much, it's in the book, but shape symbolism and of different pieces of jewelry, things like earrings, bracelets, necklaces, all have circle symbolism. We're about to talk about the shapes. The only thing I wanted to mention about pendants and some neck and some bracelets is very often they do dangles that make noise. Many cultures put stones or rocks or things that make noise within them. These are things to act as keep those animals away. I am walking, they're going to hear me walking, they're going to get out of my way because they hear you coming. So it's keeping things away. What is that? Amulet. It's being used as amulet. So they have several functions. So here we have a circular thing with an additional thing put on top of it. We are layering symbolism in jewelry. So there are two theories of, this is so cool. There are two theories of how did it ever come from in here down to here or making of things. This first one is called ent optic, ent within your optic system. So it is seeing it with your eyes, going down your optic nerve, ending up back here in your visual cortex. And interestingly enough, these two gents at the bottom here in 1988, they came up with, they didn't come up with it, they tested this and found that every single human being on Earth, we all see 6 different shapes within us. If you put pressure on your eyes, often that happens just in a stressful situation. You might start seeing some of these things. This is what they are. They're the grid pattern. They are parallel lines, undulating lines, zigzag lines, C curves, and dots. We all know we see dots, but these other things, look up. What do you see? You see a grid. Look at the floor. You're seeing in the carpeting. I tell you, this changed my worldview, knowing all these things about symbolism. I go into everywhere and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm seeing this and I'm seeing that. It is very, very rich. But here's the case for the natural observation. We're seeing it all around us as well. This agate is just spectacular, and you're seeing so many of your ent optic imagery in this. Here we're seeing it in early rock art at Newgrange. Has anybody gone there? This is so cool. I took all these pictures. Here you're seeing undulating lines. You're seeing undulating lines with, C curves, the C curves on the bottom between 2 parallel lines. And you're seeing zigzags over, God, I keep doing that because I'm used to mine. Zigzags. When you combine them, they form the diamond shape. And there's the next thing. You're starting to combine symbols, put them together, and you get different shapes. It's just fascinating. This guy, we're going to talk about. The two gents who came up with ent optic also had included spiral, but I don't because it wasn't seen in the historic or archaeological record till so much later, or I should say not as old as the others, that to me, they didn't matter as much yet, but they're going to matter. What I want you to notice about this guy, we're going to talk about here in a second, is that you've got opposite facing spirals. That's very interesting too. I had to do this. A lot of these you're going to see at the Spectrum Award thing. If you go look, check it out. What do we have here? This is not a Spectrum Award, but this is at Kimberly Collins. This was an ad in the magazine. What do we see? Straight lines, right? Here we've got circles and spheres, but the sphere is just a circle, 3-dimensional. So we've got the circles going on, or dots, you can call them. We've got undulating lines. We've got zigzag lines that Paula Crevichet did. This is not a Spectrum Award, but oh man, is that a great example? You got the straight line, a C curve, another straight line. They could be parallel and a circle, all in one, each with its own meaning. We put it together and you have all kinds of cool stuff. Just very quick, this is the historic record of when certain symbols were first found archaeologically. Dots and straight lines are some of the very oldest of all. However, they did find zigzags on a shell that Homo erectus did, the dude with the fire control. Remember him? So here we go with spirals. Okay, there's only 2 symbols that have a directionality. And this gets very cool. So you start mathematically from the center of a spiral and you work your way around. If it is going counterclockwise, it is a female symbol. And it is intuitive, it is reflective, it is coming within, meditative. Your Sufi dervishes rotate in a counterclockwise direction to go within. They're going into a trance-like state. The next, if we start in the center here, we are going clockwise, male symbol, evolving, evolution, growth, etc., expansive. You put the 2 together, what do you have? The balance. That's why you see it an awful lot put together, but super interesting. So if people are sporting spiral earrings or whatnot, you know, they often have them going different directions for each ear. And it's very balancing. One of the things I have to tell you, though, is most of our major storms, like tornadoes and hurricanes, they are left going. They are left facing. They are little destructive little things, and they're female. They are left facing. And interesting, in the galaxy, moon moving around Earth, Earth moving around the sun, left going. I took that slide out. But here, you know, we're seeing it in nature. We're seeing it in shells. Excuse me. Hoarse. I'm always hoarse. You guys have to apologize for me. We see it in boar's tusks. We see it in all kinds of designs. But this I saw at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, the public show a few years ago, and I took a picture of it. These guys, 100-million-year-old, da-da-da-da-da, left-hand coiling shells have been associated with great metaphysical powers, Hindu, Buddhist, and Tantric belief systems. That's cool. That's really cool. I did bring one. I have it at the booth 1300, if you want to see one. It's cool. They're kind of rare. They charge more for them. Well, they are rare. I thought I had one, and I went to the office and looked, and it was right-handed. I had to search and find one this year at Tucson. So I've got one now. On to circles. This is a special case of the spiral, where now the ends are connecting. What happens with the energy? It just keeps going, 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 going. It is eternal. It is eternity. It is the now. It is a really cool symbol, but it also makes a circle. And circles have no beginning, no end, but most important in symbolism, they are the symbol of the sky or the heavens. And so they represent that in most belief systems. You get, you know, targeted looking things of concentric circles. You get the dot in the circle, and when that happened, that started to become much later an eye symbol as well, and just a dot. So a dot is really kind of a circle filled in, right? So that's what that is. And then the sphere is a 3-dimensional circle. Most people think beads as spherical, but they rarely are. Very often they're sort of roundish, but they have cut off sides, truncated sides. It's called an oblate. And here's some wonderful jewelry designs using circles. Once again, I had to put our little Spectrum Award winner up there because it's marvelous. They're intersecting as well as the sphere. It's very round. And I don't know about you, but we all seem to have our favorite shape. I am very much a circle. I love circular everything. I sleep in a circular bed. My house is kind of circular. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Eternity rings, hoop earrings, bracelets, necklaces, all the things we talked about before. Just a few more things. Even, how about our round brilliant cuts or all round cut stones is the circle symbolism. That's pretty cool. Spheres of quartz, whether they're drilled or undrilled necklaces like this are called pools of light. They bring quite the premium. They're quite expensive and very interesting pieces. Concentric circles, but this is forming the eye. This was a ring that I stupidly let go. I looked at it, I wanted it, I walked away, and somebody bought it. That's one of my regrets, so I put it up there, especially at Tucson time. But, rhodochrosite forms naturally this way, and it's marvelous, so that's a cool thing. We see it in agates, we see it in all sorts of stuff, but this is the dot and circle symbolism. When it was first seen in the archaeological record and also when it was first mentioned. Remember, they weren't writing until the 3000 BCs, and so, you don't see reference to it till much later. But it naturally occurs in agates. It is still terribly powerful, and everybody seems to sport them and like them. Certainly I do. This is also an interesting subdivision of the spiral, where all the radiuses are the same, and it's called a coil. When the radius decreases, it becomes a cone, and these are featured greatly in cultural jewelry all over the world, as well as our own. We get the bypass ring. Think about the bypass ring. How long has a bypass ring been around? There it is. It's a coil. It's part symbol. Here's the crescent where you've got a gap in the circle, and the oldest crescent that they have found were these earrings. This is in the British Museum, and it's the Royal Cemetery of Ur in Mesopotamia. Very, very cool. And I put these pictures in because these are contemporary tribals wearing these fabulous earrings that look almost identical to the ones dating to 2500 BC. Pretty neat. Okay, the other heavy, straight line. Also called an axis mundi or all those other things I've written there. But the axis mundi, it is believed the energy is flowing around an axis mundi. So powerful is this, most of the healers of cultural peoples, shaman healers, you name it, they almost always have a staff because the staff is the axis mundi. It also allows them to access heaven, mundane, and underworld, i.e. access the ancestors, consult with mediums of different dimensions. So it's a very powerful thing. We see it in our straight line bracelets, AKA tennis bracelets. We see it in Riviera necklaces or tennis necklaces. We see it so much in jewelry, dripping down. And it's one of the most common symbols on flags around the world. It's very interesting. Add another stick there, or another little straight line, and you start to get other symbols of other shapes, like crosses or X patterns if you flop it on its side. And it's used all over. But look, we see it in nature. This is starlite crystals, and this is natural chiastolite in a bead form. Interesting things. At another line, we get trapeces and rutilated, and following the hexagonal crystal. And back to this, so all of these, wherever the two lines meet in the middle, is something called the nexus. It is a point where anything is possible. I just love that. I think that's really cool. And it's a fun thing to point out to people. And here we just have, fabulous trapeces and starstones that have, very often these are a star symbol. And also, or sun ray symbol or something like that. But it's wonderful to see in our world. Connect the outer parts of this and you get your hexagonal crystals that are so fun that we see and we love. This necklace below, this gal sets up at Casino del Sol, this big, huge quartz crystal. I wear these, I love them, they are so dynamic and, you know, hexagonal all the way. On top over here, sorry, on top over here we have a round with a hexagonal. We are now combining shapes in one of our Spectrum Award, Mary van der Aa, and that's pretty exciting. We're getting more going on in jewelry. Okay, squares. Squares and circles. Check out my ring. What do I have? A square. It can mean all those different things, houses and whatnot, but globally, this is the symbol of Earth. And you'll notice there's something in the middle of this, which is circular. What was circle? The heavens. This is heaven on earth. Very often, it is used all over the world. And if you think about most of your sacred structures, churches, mosques, whatever, they tend to have a square base. They tend to have a dome. And the dome, if it's continued within the square, you know, which invisibly they are, it is heaven on earth. And it is bringing the two together. So it is a very heavy combinational symbol with the circle. Very cool. This was one of the award-winning, you know, rectangular cuts, step cuts, that's over at the Spectrum Award, you know, the cutting that's on downstairs. The Spectrum Awards are on the upstairs ballroom. What? Just to show you, this is one of the most expensive bead types. It's called a Z, and I'm very passionate about them, but they are mostly not available, and when they are, this is a bead that can attain $1 million for a bead. It is highly valued by the Tibetans, Taiwanese, Japanese. It has high cultural value for them. And look at this one. This is an odd one because what does it have? A square and a circle. So they call it Earth Sky Z. It's a variety of the Z. The Z typically has just round circles around it. However many of those eye designs, those eyes, you count the number of eyes, and they have different values based upon the number of eyes they have. So value can be attached also to things. Just some examples of some squares in jewelry. Okay, I said there were two symbol shapes that had directional symbolism. This is the other one. If the triangle faces upward, male. Triangle faces downward, female. Overlap the two, combining the two. It is keeping everything calm. It is peaceful. It is the balance. It is what we are all trying to do. But there's some really cool jewelry we're seeing here. And the other cool thing about this, you're seeing entoptic. Again, if you do the zigzag, which is entoptic, it's producing triangles. And it can produce the diamond shape. So, you know, you build on these different things. And tile makers who did ancient tile floors, they did this. This is how they got their fabulous designs in these wonderful mosaics of antiquity. It's just so cool. Here we have triangles facing down, fibulas, which hold cloaks on. She's also donning a square. And what's that in the center? A protrusion of a round, and that is an eye. And by protruding, it is even more powerful. And protrusions or beaded aspects on pieces like granulation technique, it is considered to be an amulet keeping that away. So it's an additional thing to the square. So it's all put together, very cool. One of the other things about this, even her pendant beads are kind of triangular shaped, and she's also wearing circles, which is very wonderful. Downward facing triangles, upward facing charm boxes. and the Taurog gent there, very cool. Well, we know the critter associated with the wave, you know. Who are we? You know, the undulating line is mostly snake symbolism a great deal. However, snakes have zigzag vertebra. You would not believe how popular snake vertebra is globally. You'd be shocked how much it's used in jewelry. And it is very powerful. It is very dynamic. It is exciting. Building of energy, not so much making it more calm. It's a very dynamic, vibrant symbol. And down here, we have, I keep doing that because I'm looking at it too. This is a glass imitation snake vertebra necklace worn by Rihanna. And this is on like 17 magazine, you know, quite some time ago. Very, very cool. We're seeing zigzags. We saw it in Paula Crevichet's piece before. Undulating things, even surface designs on beads. They are canvases for symbolic signs. And so their designs are typically done purposefully to add that symbolism to it. Very cool. Bulgari, you know, all sorts of things. Here's a few more of our Spectrum Award winners. I put stars on anybody who is Spectrum Award. This is just so lovely, undulating with spheres and circles and just the combination of that and undulating lines here. You know, and obviously a pear shape or teardrop that really is the symbol of rain and whatnot. It's not one of our basic symbols. It became an add-on symbol. And wavy type structures. So this is cool because we are combining all these different shapes in one thing. These are very ancient treated carnelian beads dating back to 4th to 11th century. This is put in a gold bracelet by Hal and Margie and Santa Fe. But check this out. We got the zigzag. We've got triangles facing the different ways. We've got an X pattern with the nexus in the middle. We got dots. We got protruding balls keeping things away from us. But there's one more thing we have to add. We have red and we have blue, global symbols. Red is always earth, blue is always heavens. So once again, we're adding just more. But wait, there's more. So rock and mineral symbolism, rocks are considered to have a divinity all to themselves. They are divine just by nature of their permanence and they're old. And most of the sacred structures are built from them. And there's cool things also. Just a quick chart again, it's in the book. And copper was definitely the first one, gives you an idea of when smelting happened and all the other minerals that you can see later. Again, when the first jewelry making industries started, you see granulation, filigree, and I thought casting would be fun for you to see as well. For your metals, gold is male. This is where it starts getting funky. Different belief systems believe different things about the different, colors and metal things. So they all have their own little attribution of symbolism, which is why it gets a little complicated. But they're just stunning all over the place. Gold doesn't usually come in a pure form. It usually is alloyed naturally. One of the most common alloys is with silver. And I don't know if you know it, but you probably all do. Do you see this little undulating line at the bottom there of the pyramid? You're like wondering why I have a pyramid here? Because that whole tip of the pyramid in Egypt was capped with electrum. And electrum is a combination of silver and gold naturally. It was also some of the first coins. So can you even imagine what a beacon that was in antiquity of this thing glowing in the sunshine or even the moonlight from such a distance, these huge pyramids in Egypt. And oldest known gold, there you have it, Bulgaria, dating 7,000 years ago. These beads, just rolled, pounded and rolled gold, Lake Titicaca. And another alloy, but it was done by humans, but it is 100% indicative of pre-Columbian, is tumbaga. It is a combination of gold and copper. Gives the copper a very interesting kind of reddish hue to it. I have that bracelet. It is very pliable. It's very soft. So, very challenging, but it is pre-Columbian. And the other bracelet is electrum. Silver is female. It's a moon symbol. It is a money symbol because they both, gold and silver, are prosperity and money because of obvious connections. We see it a lot. This is just a compelling picture. Here it is. Archaeologists digging in Israel, and they came across this, skeletal remains in situ. Here are these cool, brass bangles on their arms. It's just a statement to us always wearing jewelry. Color, we know this. We know warm and cold colors. We know this. But I don't think you knew that in the mineral world, the most common colors out there aren't the ones that we were hoping for. No, they're fine. Yellow, green, and colorless. But this is also a reason why these strong colors of other stones get to be rather pricey, because they're just not available much in nature. And then we mine them out, and they're really not available. So, that's the dilemma of colored stone world always. And that's what keeps us coming to Tucson every year to see what's new and what's exciting and see how high the prices have gone this year, all that. They're also used color-wise. There's some interesting uses of color. The Indian Navratna. Nav is 9, Ratna stone, 9 stone jewelry pieces. I am a big fan of these. They're not necessarily a pretty combination. There's the stones, but they put them all together because they believe that stones focus the energy of the different planets, and then it comes into you. So by wearing them, this combination, there's certain planets or whatnot exerting bad, bad, it's your wrong time with that planet, but it's your good time with the other planet. Again, what's doing, it's protecting you, it's keeping the balance, it's keeping you safe from things. And of course, the Victorian period where they took the word itself and made the stones spell things out. So they had, it's called acrostics, and they have regard being spelled out by the stones, as well as dearest, and just little, things about that. Very cool. So let's look at some of our, again, this is where the snafu occurs. We're getting different meanings from different cultures, and I'm just sort of sharing them. I'm also talking about the stones that are pretty much the most basic thing of this color that we tend to see a lot of. So there they all are. Red is by far one of the most ancient colors. Black and white was first. It was the first things they ever found. Red is so early in the archaeological history. And one of the main things that they used in all the rock art, which rock art is 90,000 years later than jewelry. Jewelry really is significantly older than any other form of expression. And it's the most common color in flags. It is also the color of earth. It is the representational color of earth. So you see it a lot. In the ancient stuff, it was carnelian. Now we have a broader spectrum of stones that they've been able to find. And here's the opposite. Here's the spirituality. The Pope used to wear, I don't know if he still does, quite honestly, I haven't seen him in a long time. I don't think I've ever seen him. No, but used to wear a big blue sapphire in the ring. It is very elite. It is important. We've got great stones. Just the color, however, averts evil. Just the color blue is an amulet. Hence, you go down south, The underside of the porches of the houses is painted blue. All around the world, the doorways are painted blue. The windowsills are painted blue because it keeps negativity or negative anything out. How about that? That's pretty cool. So we all need to have our blue on, whatever form, turquoise or whatever. I was going to make a comment because Gary, in his latest thing that he sends out, was telling us about a find in Norway that was a wonderful ring in gold that had granulation, filigree, so now you can kind of date it, and the granulation would have averted sporting a blue stone. And the blue stone they found out was, in fact, glass, but it didn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. Most of the world doesn't care if it's natural or synthetic or if it's an imitation, whatever. They don't care. It's all about the color. So that was very interesting. I really enjoyed that. Green, obvious, fertility, growth, immortality. They used to coat, in ancient Chinese, they put a suit of jade on their elite and buried them in them. It's quite wild. In the old days, they really were using serpentine, maybe some turquoises, but not really so much turquoise. There wasn't that much green other than serpentine, which was soft and easy to carve, so it was a lot then. Now we have so much more. Emerald Tsavorite. Yellow, very warm, it's sun representation, but it's curative. It is believed to be a cure. They would sometimes grind amber and put it in things as a curative or adorn themselves with amber, even just one piece, which you're seeing here. So we've got the combination of the red and the blue, heaven and earth, plus some of them have a piece of amber to keep them well and healthy all over the world. From the southwest here, we have so much of it. Ladakh, this is the border area, northern India. We see it all through Mongolia and China and Tibet and the Himalayan region. And the bottom right is North Africa, and the blue in this is microcline feldspar, aka Amazonite, and your Mediterranean coral. So it's very cool. Check this out. This just came out. I just saw this. Like Taylor. Taylor is sporting orange and turquoise. It's her new era. Isn't that bizarre? It's kind of cool if you ask me. Okay, so our themes here, we got coral, we got amber sometimes, but it's really the blue and the red, the earth and sky. Our biggest goal, remember, keep everything calm, please. Homeostasis is what we want, please. That is really what symbolism has done for humans and what we want it to do for us. We have spirals, ubiquitous. They have found them on archaeological things from, prehistoric or pre-Columbian not churches really, but sacred buildings down in pre-Columbian regions, as well as on the pyramids, as well up in Mongolia. They didn't really communicate at the time, so it's a very, very strong symbol for us. And now it has a directionality, so that's fun to do. And it's in jewelry a lot. The zigzag, that snake vertebra, I'm telling you, it's more important than you thought. I don't know if you knew how important it was. It is. It's very cool. And noise making and bells. So there's a lot of things that make noise. Even fringe is believed to avert evil. And it kind of does. It keeps the insects off of you. So, you need these things. We need, snaky things around our ankles so that, snakes don't climb up on us. So let's do a little review. Symbolic thought is when anthropologists and archaeologists consider us to be modern man and woman. It defines us Jewelry was the first material object they found that indicated that we had symbolic thought because it wasn't necessary for survival. And so it's been with us along our entire journey on this earth. It's pretty cool. They're everywhere. It's not just jewelry, obviously. It's architecture. It's all art. It is in our textiles. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And now you will walk into rooms and go, oh, wow. People are like, what did she take? Like, God, look at that straight line, man. It's so cool. Jewelry, you should see my husband. So he gets this now. He points things out to me like, oh, look at the fabric on the chairs. They're squares. Earth, right? So at any rate, jewelry is a wearable symbol. It is portable. It is with us. It identifies us. It was very often in early days, it indicated what tribe you came from, what people you belonged to. Obvious early barter. They wanted that because they didn't have it. And so it became, huge in that way. And you jewelers out there are symbolists. You are heavy, and you are, doing this thing with profound stuff, and that makes you channeling divine, and so you are very heavy creatures. I'm in awe of all of you. These same symbols that we saw used in ancient times are still being used all the time now. Always. It goes with us. We are still doing it. That's a very fun thing to teach our people we sell jewelry to. It's very cool and very heavy, and they are people who keep it going. This awareness, it's gonna change you. I'm telling you. It's going to change you. So I love this by Henry. He says, when one gives close attention to anything, it becomes a mysterious and magnificent world to itself. And let's look at this dude. This is black and yellow. Think about what black and yellow is. It is, I am poison. I am toxic. I will kill you if you get near me. That's what he's saying to us. Don't even think about it. Hello? Look at us wearing, look at this strip of stuff in black and yellow. There he is. But not only that, he's got little C curves over his eyebrows. He's got these parallel lines dashing going down his back. Everything we look at has this. And now we have this richness of appreciation that maybe, just maybe, I gave you a little bit more of. I don't know, but you've got to put it in your jewelry. You do without you even knowing you're doing it. You've been doing it all along. How cool is that? Also, remember, for fun, if you remember, think about doing the entoptic thing, rubbing your eyes. You know how good that feels in the morning or night. It feels so good. And see if you see some of those 6 shapes, the entoptic shapes. And just because, those were the 2 books that I wrote. And so the bead book is actually sold out. You might be able to find it. I don't know. I think Kasoi might still have it, but it is out of print, gone. So it's fun to do. If you have that sensibility, it was done very much for appraisers and for estate dealers, antique dealers, et cetera. Same as the symbolism. The symbolism, I do geographic regions, their belief systems to help us identify where certain things were made, because certain cultures use certain symbols more than others, or they are part of their belief system. So that's part of the reason I included that in there. But you've already seen stuff, and I thank you. Thank you. So thank you, guys.
We have time for just a couple of questions. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
The back of my shirt. But I should have shown you the front of my shirt because there's a 9-pointed star, which is a symbol of the Baha'i faith. But it's really tiny. I think the back is important.
They both are very important. the Baha'i faith, all faiths have these symbols, and it is fascinating to hear. It always asks people, I'm always asking tattooed people, what is the reason? Why did you do that snake? Or what does that mean to you? Or where did that come from? And I could just do a whole thing on, tattoos. It'd be so interesting. They're putting symbols all over themselves. The weird thing is, I can't tell you how many people say, oh, I don't know, I just thought it was cool. And I'm like, come on. Oh, by the way, sorry, one more thing. You'll have to come down to the booth because you think I didn't dress for you? Come on, really. This piece is really super interesting. Southern India, they're earrings, but they encompass circles, squares, triangles. They're everything put into one big thing. I've collected them for a long time. I just really think they're so cool. They're groovy. Okay, next question.
Questions?
Oh, and you'll have to check this out. And you'll have to come check out the left spiraling shell, right? There's your homework.
One last question for Cindy? Anybody?
Jackie?
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh, Jackie, I do have books available in booth 1300. Oh, thank you for asking.